to another heartfelt episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host Avik, and today's conversation takes us, I would say, into a space where healing, spirituality, and gratitude meet. So, dear listeners, we often hear about the mind body connection, right? But what about the mind body soul connection? What happens when we start seeing our lives not just through the lens of survival, but through the lens of gratitude and the spirit, right? Well, to help us explore this, I am joined by the radiant Shannon Curtis. So, welcome to the show, Shannon.
Thank you so much for having me and for everyone that's listening.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, before we delve into the discussion today, I would quickly love to introduce you with Shannon. So, Shannon is the founder of Angel Goddess Healing, author of No More Monsters Under the Bed, Shining Your Light on the Dark, and a living example of resilience and the transformation. So, her story is one of the deep healing, like from childhood trauma, addiction, heartbreak, and the spiritual awakening, and to becoming a guide who helps others reclaim their light and reconnect with their higher selves. So, I'll not take much of your time, dear listeners. Let's get started. Welcome to the show again, Shannon.
Thank you.
Amazing. So, Shannon, your journey has taken you through the trauma, addiction, motherhood, and the spiritual awakening. So, when you reflect on these experiences, how do you see the interconnectedness of mind, body, and the soul shaping your healing?
For me, looking back, now that I'm on the other side of this, I could always see some patterns in my body that wasn't so clear to see at the time. But what I'm learning is our bodies, when we tune into our bodies, they give us very much answers that sometimes we're looking for. And if we just stop and quiet the mind and go into the
Mm,
body and connect it with the soul, we can figure out what's going on. So I had sexual trauma when I was 4 years old. I was taken by somebody outside of the family and was molested. Well, I didn't have that remembrance all my life till I was later in my 40s. And I actually had the journey with sacred plant medicine to help me remember that and process it. But what happened is throughout my life, from that trauma as 4 years old, by the time I was 11, 12, I was having painful periods and my body was, starting to talk to me saying something's not right. And then by the time I got into high school and I was 16, 17, I had to have surgery for a female endometriosis and I had bladder disease and I had all these things that again were
mm,
pointing the signs to how the body was trying to tell me something, but I just wasn't quite understanding it. And so then as I became tried to become a mother, I suffered many, many miscarriages. And so that took me along the journey of again not really stopping at the time to understand it, but now I can see how that led me then into my addiction of pain medicine because I was trying to numb that. I did not want to feel that pain my body was trying to tell me. So now I'm on the other side of it. And in my 40s, now that I can say, looking back, my body was always trying to help me, but I was fighting that. And so I just think that body, mind, and soul connection is so important because when you truly stop to listen, you can find some answers that maybe you were searching for.
mm. I agree. I totally agree. Yes. And okay, was there a turning point, like when you realized healing had to involve all three, not just one aspect of yourself?
So when I first went to treatment to kind of go over my addiction and the reasons why, that was about 8, 9 years ago. That was the first time in my life I stopped and grieved.
Mm,
And so that was a big moment for me with understanding the body and the mind. But I would say the soul part was just that last little piece. And again, for me, I turned to plant medicine and I went to Mexico and did a beautiful 5 day retreat, spiritual retreat.
mm,
And that really tuned me into my soul and what was open to me and showed me, my traumas, but also showed me as gifts. And they showed me it was done for me, not to me, because then I get to go spread the message now that I know on the other side of healing, I can go bring hope to other people that maybe are on their healing journey and don't understand the body mind soul connection. And so that really really opened me up in the last probably 2 years, and I'm just continuing on that journey just to keep expanding and digging deeper and see what else is out there.
I agree. I agree totally agree on this. And I think like many of us treat healing as kind of compartmentalized, like therapy for the mind, fitness for the body, prayer for the soul. But like your story really shows like how these pieces weave together in into a kind of one whole fabric of life. So yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to see when you kind of put the
Mm,
pieces together, and it's almost like doing a puzzle and it's not quite finished, but then when you get there and you're starting to see what it looks like and you're like, "Oh, okay, I'm starting to understand." That's where I feel I'm at. My journey's not complete. It's ever adding in new pieces, but I'm starting to see the bigger picture and understand the purpose of all the pain that I went through, and I just want to help other people understand that they can turn their pain into purpose when they utilize it in that mind body soul connection, and when they're all three aligned, then you really
mhm.
open up to miracles.
Exactly. And like you are a huge believer in the gratitude. So why do you think that gratitude shifts the way the mind works? So
Mhm.
why does it make us so good even in the pain also?
Yeah, so I think gratitude is a huge, huge one because you're starting to look for the good and sometimes the bad things. And so, take example like my trauma. I immediately understood it and felt the pain of it, but then moved through it to the forgiveness part and forgiving my perpetrator and seeing ultimately he was the same of me in the same light of spirit, God, whatever you want to call it, that's outside of yourself, outside of just this human experience. And so, when I really started to understand that, then I found gratitude for the situation. And so I start to, do that every day in my life. And my 15-year-old daughter, I love to do three things you're grateful for. I work with clients that I work with coaching. I always try to say, find three things every day, every single day you're grateful for. And sometimes they could be just as simple as there's a roof over my head. This morning, mine was a great meditation that I was felt very peaceful at. Whatever, it can be simple or not, but what happens is you start to train your brain to find those things. And then before you know it, you're going throughout your day and you're like, yep, that's going to be on my list. Oh, yep. And so it's training the brain, the body to really get aligned with the soul and start to see everything. There's good all around you all the time. It's just a matter of what you want to look at. And so I always say, if you look for the good, you're going to find the good. But if you look for the bad, I guarantee you're going to find that. It's just kind of how the universe works. We have both. We have the light and the dark. And so, which one do you choose? And I choose to go with love and gratitude and find that in everything that's happened in my life, no matter what, have always something good has come from them. But that's that power of the mind of finding that gratitude within the situation.
Got it. Understood. So like for the listeners who feel stuck in the grief, fear, and or anger, how can gratitude be practiced without feeling fake or forced?
Yeah, so sometimes I tell people, and I've had to do this in the past, someone hurts you really, really bad, or maybe your parents or your children, or you don't understand someone and they're just completely opposite of you, maybe really, really mean. And you're like, I don't understand why they're treating me that way, or you lost a child and you don't understand why that happened.
Hmm.
Sometimes I found for the people, it's easy to say, thank you for showing me who I choose not to be. Meaning, thank you for that person that maybe was so mean to me that says, I don't want to be that. And so that's
Yeah.
finding the gratitude in that situation. Or a parent that lost a child. thank you for helping me feel this. So now I can go help other parents and we can connect in a way. And so, again, it's those gratitude things. Also, losing a child, a parent, a loved one, it teaches you to feel outside of your body. And so, when you tune into that, that's when you get those little messages from the universe, from the loved ones on the other side. It teaches you your body is just only so much, but there's so much outside of that. And so it can open you up to that if you're willing to look at it.
Mm, I agree. True. Yeah. And that resonates definitely. Gratitude is not about ignoring the pain, but it's also about finding the small sparks of light, even while we are sitting in the dark. So that's very true. Yeah.
It's honoring it all, honoring all the emotions, because when we have to know the good to know the bad. We have to have the
Mhm.
bad so we can know the good, and it's all discernment. And so some things, discernment is teaching you what you like and what you don't like, what you care about. So if something brings up a lot of anger in your life, and when you start to sit in that, you can really, really understand what's important to me. What are things? Why am I angry? And a lot of times under anger is the pain and sadness, and maybe it's angry because you're really ultimately sad that someone treats you like that.
Mm,
And so those are those things of just being curious about your emotions and being curious why you behave certain ways, and not necessarily from shame or guilt, just for being curious, because we always act a certain way for a certain reason. And when we start trying to understand ourselves and give ourselves understanding, then it's going to be a whole lot easier, I believe, to understand other people when we can understand ourselves.
exactly. Totally agree on this. Yes. Oh, and like you had a profound healing experience with the sacred plant medicine where you reframed like one of your deepest traumas.
Mhm.
So for many, like, what kind of perspective, like seeing a perpetrator as a teacher, is almost like unimaginable. So how did you reach that place of
Mhm.
forgiveness, like without kind of
Mhm.
invalidating your pain?
Yeah, so for me, it was when I it came up and the memory came up, and the place I went to, it's kind of like when you ingest this plant medicine, it's in a beautiful setting, a spiritual setting. And so what it is that the person my perpetrator came to me in the middle of all of this, and I saw immediately what happened. And I had to make that choice. And I didn't want to have anger in my heart, because when I looked down, I saw this ball of anger, red yarn kind of knotted up in my stomach area. And I looked down and I have the presence of Spirit of God next to me. And I was like, oh, this is bad. I could see with my eyes that this was inside of me. And so I wanted to give it back. And so I immediately gave it back to that person. That's the first thing, is removing that shame that's not yours.
Mhm.
I didn't do anything wrong. I was an innocent child. So I learned to give that back to him. But then when I'm standing there looking at him and God's next to me, I start to see him in the same light as God is seeing me, because I'm seeing him through God's eyes. And so it was this thing of ultimately, at the end of all of this experience, he's of the same as me. And so what came to me was he was here to teach me something about myself. And that's that exchange. I feel like sometimes it's those soul contracts. We have those things with certain people. Why? When you look and see, it was the greatest thing for me, because I learned my own strength, and now I can go out and help other people. And that's such a gift, because if it never happened, then maybe I wouldn't have been able to connect with the clients I work with, or maybe I wouldn't be able to walk family members through who have had their own sexual trauma. And now I get to help them with theirs. And so when you look at it as that, he was my greatest teacher of finding my power, of reclaiming myself. And once you understand and you have that true moment of forgiveness, you realize the forgiveness is never about that person. It's about letting go of the shame and getting your power back. And so once you realize that, there's nothing left but kind of unconditional love. And the easiest way to explain it is when you remove all of the other yuckiness from it and strip it all away, there's a reason behind it. And so it helps me with my daily life to say nothing happens to me, it always happens for me. And even if I don't understand it right now, that's where the trust comes in, that I will understand it one day.
Exactly. And do you think that the forgiveness is more about freeing ourselves than um, excusing the harm that was done?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I try to tell people that I'm not excusing the behavior or saying it's okay. I just went from a place of knowing that it happened to understanding why. And there's some things that I don't fully will never understand. It's greater than myself, like why those bad things have to happen that way. But I can just trust that there's a reason outside of it. Just like if you lose someone, a child, I have a friend who's lost both her children, both her only living children, they're both gone. And why is it that she has that? Well, maybe her lesson, what she's, signed up to come experience was the power of resilience and pushing through. And she still lives a full life with smiling. And so that brings me joy and that brings me strength to say, if she can do that and get through that, then my thing, I have my daughter alive. Maybe that happened when I was 4, but it's not happening now. And so it's those things again, gratituding and finding outside of yourself. There's always someone that's going to have it quote unquote worse than you, and there's always someone who's going to have it better than you. And so it's just choosing to look and say, you know what, that's their journey. This is mine. And I'm trusting that my journey is exactly the way mine is supposed to be for me.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like, okay, okay, and it's really brave. I mean, it's a reminder that healing doesn't always mean erasing the wound. It means finding a way to reclaim our power from it. So, yeah, and
Mhm.
so, like, some people worry that focusing too much on spiritual healing, things like plant medicine,
Mhm.
inpatient, or seeing ourselves as angelic beings, can feel like ungrounded or detached from the reality. So, uh, how do you balance the spiritual truths with the very real human struggles of everyday life?
Yeah, that's such a great question because I do think grounding is very, very important.
Mm.
I have to ground into my roots and my earthly stuff. And what it is I had to go through my own journey because, yes, when I tapped into this whole spiritual side, and it does sound great to like, hang with the spirit world and angels and beautiful and love and light, but that's not where our earth is. That's where we have bad things happening every day in front of us. But that's where I truly think your insides match your outside. And so going back to the body stuff, if you take care of yourself and do all those things that are grounding, that are what you put inside your body. I've learned, alcohol is does not serve me. And so I don't even it's been about a year and I don't even know the date I stopped drinking. It literally just did not serve me. And so I let it go where I had struggled in the past with alcohol and I got my little chips and I went to AA every day and you count up the months. This time it's so different because it's something that just doesn't serve me anymore. And so I think that like the grounding is doing the things that I can do that are in my control. And ultimately the only thing I can control is me, myself, and I. And how I react, how I take care of my body, how I take care of my mind, reading, and then the spiritual stuff does come, last, meaning I have to take care of those things because I could preach all this beautiful stuff, but if I'm not taking care of my body or I'm, down in alcohol every night and getting drunk, that's not really aligning with everything. So for me, it's a lifestyle. This is not like my job. This is literally what I do. And my partner and I, we meditate every night together. And that's kind of a big one is ending the night with kind of reflecting on the day and looking at that ego work of the things, maybe I could have done this better, or always just coming back to just growing and expanding. And so for me, those are the ways that I try to always stay grounded and rooted. And the more you ground and root, the actual like further you get kind of up into the, I would say, the atmosphere of like love and light. But it starts with that rooting into earth and knowing you're here for a reason and not fighting that because I did fight that for a while. I fought being in my body because I didn't like my body. It didn't feel good in my body. And so though that goes back to that thing of a lot of people do detach, especially from trauma, because your trauma was done to your body. And so once I released the trauma, I almost had to retrain myself to kind of come back into my body fully and reteach myself that my body is a safe place.
Exactly. Mhm. Wow. And do you think that spirituality should be approached cautiously, like especially for people who are still in the raw stages of the trauma?
Repeat that. Do you believe what?
So I'm just saying, like, do you think that spirituality should be approached cautiously?
Speech? I'm so sorry. I'm having a hard time
Spirituality.
Oh, spirituality. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Do I think spirituality is what?
I mean, should be approached cautiously.
Oh, so that's a great question because I do think that it helps having someone to work with or go at your rate because you do have, and that's why plant medicine. I'm a prep coach, meaning like someone who goes and sits in plant medicine. I help them get ready, and then also afterwards help integrate because I have found that we have this movement of plant medicine and people going off and doing this and doing that, and tons of ayahuascas and all these psilocybin, all this stuff's coming up, coming back online. But what I found is it's really important to have someone kind of along the journey with you and helping you prep to understand why your intentions are. What are you really wanting to let go of? Because I do think it's a gift. I do think it's a medicine from God. But at the same time, if you don't use it right, I tell people a lot of times, are you using it to check out? Or are you using it to check in with yourself? And so whenever I use plant medicine, it's always to check in with myself and my feelings. And in the past, I have used it to check out. And so that's one that you really need to know why you're using it. And then the other is the integrating. So you can have all these beautiful experiences in spirituality, but if you don't understand how to bring that into your everyday life, it can kind of be a struggle because, like we talked about earlier, you have to deal with the bad. You have to deal with people that are crabby. You have to sometimes, so I can't just say, oh, love and light all the time. Sometimes I have to find my voice and do boundaries. And so that's the other thing is you can always bring it back to love, but that doesn't mean without boundaries. And that's a really important one for people going through things or conflicts in their life is that yes, you send that person love, but it is absolutely okay to create a boundary that's going to help you. And so that's that balance with spirituality of knowing, yes, you can lead with that, but it's also very important how to integrate it into your everyday life and your relationships.
Exactly. Ooh, that's amazing. And like that's such a important nuance, I would say. Like it's not about escaping the human experience, but about deepening it with the wisdom and from the spirit. So uh,
Yes.
yeah.
That's a great way of saying it. It's not escaping it, and it's understanding it. It's deepening. There's a reason why life is not, in my opinion, is not supposed to be this so tough, hard, trudge through. You suffer, you work 9 to 5, and you do all this and save, and then you die, and you don't get to experience. I don't think that's what it's for. I think life is about experiencing every single emotion you can possibly experience because that's what it is. The human experience is emotion. That's our body. That's our understanding of everything. So I'm always curious and I welcome it. So when there's something uncomfortable in my life, I turn and welcome it because I know on the other side of that is going to be that deeper understanding that I'm looking for. And it's just the universe way to bring it into my life so then I can look at it.
Very true, definitely. And also, like uh, you describe yourself as, I mean, now as a angelic being, a messenger of love and light. So for those who are listening who might feel far from that kind of self-realization, so what are some of the gentle first steps like they can take today to reconnect with their soul?
I truly, truly believe it starts with love, unconditional love, but love from yourself. And so I feel like as a society, we are always taught to look outside of ourselves, look for that next thing, look for that person that will give us the love and the unconditional love that we're seeking. But how many times can we stop and say, I really, truly love myself? And so what I learned is once I turned inward and I left a 15-year marriage that was no longer serving me, and I was giving away myself and I was literally losing felt like a little piece of me every day. So when I reclaimed that part of myself, my life completely transformed, but what it was me saying I'm worth being truly happy while being my most authentic self. And so if you would have asked me a couple years ago, I'm making a living literally just being me. That's such a beautiful thing. And all I had to do to get here was just be me and be authentically me. And so that's what I would say anyone listening, it starts within, turning within and finding the love within, because when you start searching outward, that's all you're going to be doing. And it's, I truly believe we live in a yes universe. Whatever you put out there, that's what you're going to get. So if you're seeking love and looking for love outside of yourself, that's what you will literally be doing, is seeking that. And so once you quiet that and turn inward and see that everything that you need is in yourself, then that's really when you can start the transformation, because you realize maybe you were part of the problem, but then that means you're part of the answer solution too.
Mm, exactly. I agree. I agree. So, and like, how can practices like music, meditation, gratitude open the door to that connection, reconnection?
I think it calms the nervous system. I think especially when you have trauma, which we all have trauma. It's all different kinds. It doesn't have to be sexual. It can be physical, it can be mental, but we all have these things that sometimes we make up these false stories about us, and that we think that we're bad. And so what it is it's just remembering ultimately that we are good and we're good people and that love. And so when I go into meditation, I'm checking with myself, but I'm also sending myself so much love. And maybe it's like, oh, I could have done that better. But no, that's exactly how it was supposed to be for me to learn that. And then that teaches me, oh, I didn't like how I behaved. Well, then that gives me an option to change that. And so again, it's this discernment when I'm looking at it from a place of love and not
Mm.
judgment. And I always tell people, just be curious, don't judge. You see a homeless person on the street, the first thing is we judge, oh, they're lazy, they're whatever, they're drug addicts. What if you were just curious? What if we went up to someone and asked how they got there? And usually there's going to be a story, and there's probably going to be a story of a lot of hurt and trauma in there. And so to have that compassion for other people, but again, it starts with ourselves.
Exactly. Mhm. Amazing. So, Shannon, like this conversation has been a gift, and I would say you have shown us the that healing is not linear; it's layered, and that's a mind, body, and soul are never separate, and that gratitude can be the bridge between pain and the possibility. So, uh, for all the listeners, maybe the invitation today is simple. So, take one moment right now to notice like something good in your life. It doesn't have to be big. It could be your breath, your child's laugh, the sunrise, or even the fact that you are still here. Gratitude is not about denying the hard things. It's all about remembering that love and light exists alongside them. So, uh, Shannon, thank you so much for your honesty, your courage, and your guidance. And if you can share, if someone wants to connect with you, what would be the great medium to connect?
Absolutely. First, I want to say thank you so much for having me on to share my voice, and thank you for anyone who is willing to listen. And they can find me. It's www.angelgoddesshealing.com, and that's where my website is and the services I offer. And then also the children's book that I wrote, that's not only for children but for adults, that teaches you how to walk through that and look at that monster under the bed and start shining your light on the dark. So if they want to go on the website, they can find everything there.
Amazing. Wow. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links into the show notes for a easy reference so that you can easily reach out to Shannon. And to everyone tuning in, remember a healthy mind and a healthy life begin when you embrace all of yourself, like mind, body, soul. So, stay grateful, stay connected, and keep shining your light. So, thank you so much.